The silence of space held no mercy for the dying. Captain James Harrison pressed his bloodied palm against the observation deck's reinforced titanium as the UES Defiance limped through the asteroid field of the outer rim. Behind him, the bridge crew worked in hushed, desperate efficiency, damage reports filtering through crackling comms systems, casualty lists growing longer by the hour. 3 months. 3 months since humanity had made first contact with the Nexari Empire, and already the galaxy burned. "Sir," Lieutenant Commander Isabella Torres approached, her usually pristine uniform torn and stained with coolant fluid. "Long-range sensors are picking up something massive. 15 clicks off our starboard bow." Harrison's weathered face, etched with the scars of a dozen border conflicts, remained stoic. At 52, he had seen humanity claw its way from Earth's cradle to the stars. But nothing had prepared him for this. Nothing had prepared any of them for what waited in the dark between worlds. Define massive, Torres. Biosignatures indicate a living creature, Captain. Approximately 4 kilometers in length. And sir, her voice dropped to a whisper. It's not alone. Through the viewport, the asteroid field seemed to shift. Massive shadows moving with impossible grace between the tumbling rocks. The Nexari were here. They had found humanity's last refugee fleet. Harrison's mind raced back to the beginning, to the moment when everything changed. The first Nexari vessel had appeared without warning in the Soli system, a living mountain of crystalline flesh and biomechanical fusion that defied every law of physics humanity thought it understood. No radio contact, no diplomatic overtures. Just observation. For 72 hours, the creature had simply watched Earth's orbital installations with eyes the size of city blocks. Then came the others. The Nexari didn't build ships. They grew them. Each vessel was a living entity, part technology, part organism, capable of thought and feeling and terrible, beautiful destruction. They called them Veltaferi, the Star Singers, and when they sang, worlds listened. Or worlds died. "Captain," Communications Officer David Park's voice cracked with barely contained fear. "We're receiving a transmission. It's not coming from their ships." "What do you mean?" "Sir, it's coming from inside our cargo bay." The corridor to Cargo Bay 7 stretched before Harrison like a throat waiting to swallow him whole. Emergency lighting cast everything in hellish red, and the air recyclers worked overtime to process the thick alien pheromones that had been detected 3 hours ago. Behind him, a full security detail followed. Marines with plasma rifles and 1,000-yard stares, men and women who had seen their friends torn apart by creatures that shouldn't exist. But it was Dr. Rachel Kim who walked beside him, her scientific curiosity overriding common sense as always. At 37, she was humanity's leading xenobiologist, though until 3 months ago that had been a theoretical title at best. "James," she whispered, using his first name despite protocol. "The readings are off the charts. Whatever's in there, it's not just alive, it's ancient." The cargo bay doors hissed open. Inside, floating in a biocontainment field that pulsed with soft blue light, was a creature from humanity's deepest nightmares and strangest dreams. 20 meters long, covered in scales that shifted color like liquid starlight. It possessed 4 massive wings folded against its serpentine body. Its head was the size of a small shuttle, crowned with spiraling horns that seemed to bend space around them. A dragon. A living, breathing, impossibly beautiful dragon. But it was not alone. Curled against the creature's massive chest, protected by one enormous claw, was something that made Harrison's blood run cold. A human infant, maybe 6 months old, wearing the blue jumpsuit of the civilian evacuation ships. The child was sleeping peacefully, tiny fingers grasping at the dragon's luminescent scales. "How?" Torres breathed. "How did a baby get in here?" Dr. Kim was already scanning with her bioanalyzer, her face pale with shock. "James, this isn't just any creature. Look at the bone density, the neural activity patterns. This is a juvenile, a child, a baby dragon," whispered Park. "2 babies," Harrison corrected grimly. "The question is, how did our baby get in there? And why isn't it dead?" The dragon's massive eye opened, an orb of swirling silver that seemed to contain entire galaxies. It looked directly at Harrison, And in that moment the captain felt something he hadn't experienced since childhood. Wonder. Pure, terrifying wonder. Then the creature began to sing. The sound defied description. Part whale song, part crystalline chime, part something that touched the soul directly without bothering with the ears. Throughout the ship every piece of equipment began to resonate. Metal sang in harmony. Lights pulsed in rhythm. And in the cargo bay the human infant stirred, opened its eyes and smiled. Sir Torser's voice was barely audible over the song. I'm reading massive Nuxari fleet movements. 300 vessels. Incoming fast. But Harrison couldn't look away from the two children, one human, one alien, sleeping together as if they had always been meant to find each other. Dr. Kim, he said slowly, in your professional opinion, are we looking at prisoners? No, Captain. Her voice was filled with awe and terror in equal measure. I think we're looking at family. The ship shuddered as the first Nuxari Velthar appeared on the view screen. A living mountain of crystalline flesh that dwarfed the Defiance like a whale dwarfs a minnow. But instead of weapons charging, instead of the death song that had destroyed so many human vessels, it was calling to the baby dragon in their cargo bay. And the baby dragon was calling back. Captain, Park's voice was tight with fear. We're being hailed. Direct translation coming through. Sir, they're asking for their child back. Harrison stared at the two sleeping infants, one human, one Nuxari, and felt the weight of two species' future pressing down on him. The war that had consumed the galaxy for 3 months, the billions dead on both sides, the fleets of humanity scattered to the winds, hunted like animals across the star lanes, all because of a misunderstanding. All because no one had realized that the first Nuxari ship hadn't come to Earth as a conqueror. It had come as a parent, searching for its lost child. Sir? Torres waited for orders. What do we do? Outside, 300 Nuxari Veltari waited in the darkness, living ships with the power to crack planets. Inside, two children slept in each other's arms, unaware that they held the future of two civilizations in their tiny hands. Harrison's finger hovered over the communication array. One word could restart the war. One word could end it. But as he watched the human baby curl deeper into the dragon's protective embrace, as he saw the alien child's tail wrap gently around its human companion, the choice was already made. Dr. Kim, he said quietly, how long would it take to establish a direct biolink with our guests? Sir, I'm going in there. I'm going to talk to them. Both of them. Captain, that's suicide. No, Harrison interrupted, watching the two children breathe in perfect synchronization. I think it's hope. As the Defiance hung suspended between 300 alien warships in the infinite dark of space, Captain James Harrison made the decision that would either save humanity or damn it forever. The biocontainment field shimmered as he stepped forward, and the baby dragon opened its galaxy-filled eyes. The biocontainment field felt like walking through liquid starlight. Dr. Rachel Kim's every instinct screamed against what Captain Harrison was doing. But her scientific mind raced with possibilities as she watched him approach the two sleeping children. The field's energy readings were unlike anything in human science. Not just technology, but something that existed at the intersection of physics and consciousness itself. Vital signs stable, she whispered into her comm unit. Neural activity is, Captain, your brainwave patterns are synchronizing with the creatures. Harrison couldn't hear her anymore. The moment he'd stepped through the containment field, the universe had expanded. Colors existed here that had no names, sounds that bypassed the ears and spoke directly to memory. And threading through it all, a presence vast and ancient and impossibly young. Fear, pain, loss, seeking hope, came a voice that wasn't a voice flowing through his mind like warm honey. Small guardian protector. Why do star swimmers bring war death ending to our nesting grounds? The baby dragon's telepathic communication hit Harrison like a tidal wave of emotion and concept. He staggered, pressing one hand against the creature's warm scales for balance. The sensation was electric, not painful, but overwhelming in its intimacy. Harrison struggled to form coherent thoughts. We didn't know, we thought you were invaders. Invaders? The concept rippled through the dragon's mind with confusion and growing horror. We are the Veltasiu-Asar, the life weavers. We mend. We protect. We sing the harmony that keeps the star streams flowing. How could you think us bringers of ending silence? Images flooded Harrison's consciousness, visions of Nexari Veltaferi tending to wounded planets, their living ships singing dead worlds back to life. Gardens of crystal and flesh spreading across barren moons, star systems dancing in patterns of perfect ecological balance, maintained by creatures whose very existence was art. The human infant stirred against the dragon's chest, tiny fingers grasping at the scales that pulsed with bioluminescent warmth, and in that moment Harrison understood. The first ship that came to Earth, he breathed. It wasn't scouting for invasion, it was looking for— His eyes fell on the sleeping human baby. It was looking for her. Thisfavara, the dragon's mind whispered, and the name carried overtones of love, loss, and desperate hope. My clutch sister, my song partner. The star swimmers took her during the wandering season, when young ones explore the void between. We searched. So long we searched. She's not your sister, Harrison said gently. She's human. Our species. Species is dream concept only. The SCi-Fi replied, her mental voice touched with something that might have been laughter. What matters is harmony. What matters is the song that binds. When I fell from the star streams into the metal nest of the swimming people, she was alone, afraid. Her song was breaking with silence pain. The dragon's massive head turned to gaze down at the sleeping human infant with eyes full of cosmic tenderness. So I sang to her, and she sang back. Different notes, different rhythm, but same melody, same heart song. Sister bond transcends the shape of flesh. Harrison felt tears he didn't realize he was crying. The war, billions have died because we couldn't understand. War. The concept hit Thisfera like a physical blow, and her mental anguish rippled through the biofield with enough force to make Harrison's knees buckle. No, the great singers would never— They came seeking, not ending. They came singing peace songs, not death cries. But even as she protested, images began flowing from the dragon's genetic memory. Visions of Nexari Veltari falling silent under human plasma fire, their death songs echoing across entire star systems as they tried desperately to communicate. Peaceful gestures interpreted as threats, songs of greeting answered with nuclear fire. God help us, Harrison whispered. We fired first. And we answered. Thisfera's mind filled with shame and sorrow. When the star swimmers brought silence to our singer-kin, the great chorus grew angry. Fear song became war song. The harmony broke. Outside the biofield, Dr. Kim was frantically scanning her instruments. Captain, massive energy spike detected. Something's happening to the Nexari fleet. Through the ship's hull, carried by vibrations that human ears couldn't detect but human souls could feel, came the sound of 300 Velthari beginning to sing in unison. It was a song of mourning, of rage, of loss so profound it made the vacuum of space itself weep. The human baby stirred, began to cry, and the Sphara's response was immediate, her own song rising to meet the infant's distress, harmonizing with the child's wails until they became something beautiful, something that spoke of comfort and protection and unbreakable bonds. She teaches me new melodies, the dragon explained as the human baby's crying subsided. Songs I never heard in the great chorus. Songs of small hopes and quick dreams and love that burns bright and brief. Songs of your people, our people who are killing each other, Harrison said bitterly. No. The Sevre's mental voice carried absolute certainty. The killing stops now. My clutch sister has shown me the truth. Harmony is possible between star swimmers and life weavers. But first, the dragon's massive head turned toward the cargo bay walls as if she could see through them to the fleet beyond. First, I must sing the great pause to my people. The song that stops all songs. The melody that says listen, wait, understand. Will your star swimmers listen, small guardian? Will they hear our peace offering? Harrison activated his comm unit with hands that shook only slightly. Dr. Kim, patch me through to the Nexari fleet. Full broadband, all frequencies. Sir, that's impossible. We don't have compatible— We do now, Harrison interrupted. feeling Thisphera's consciousness merge partially with his own. Trust me. The communication array sparked to life with energies that human technology shouldn't have been able to handle. And through it, Harrison felt his voice carried on currents of thought and song to every Velthar in the fleet. "This is Captain James Harrison of the United Earth ship Defiance," he began, then felt Thisphera's mind adding harmonic overtones that transformed his words into something the Nexari could truly understand. We have made a terrible mistake. All of us. But we have also been given a gift." He gestured toward the two sleeping children. One human, one Nexari curled together in perfect trust. A gift that shows us who we could be, who we should be, who we must be, if either of our species is going to survive. The response came not in words but in a song so vast and complex it threatened to overwhelm Harrison's human consciousness. Grief for the dead. Rage for the wounded. But underneath it all, growing stronger by the moment, hope. The great chorus hears. Thisphera translated. "The elder singers taste truth in your words." But what? The dragon's mental voice grew heavy with sorrow. "The war song has been sung too long. Too much silence pain has been given and received. There are those among both our peoples who will not hear harmony now, who know only the melody of ending." As if summoned by her words, alarms began blaring throughout the Defiance. Dr. Kim's voice cracked over the con. "Captain, we've got inbound contacts. Human fleet, Admiral Patterson's battle group, they're charging weapons." And from the void deep, Thisphera added, her mental voice filled with growing dread, "The war singers approach. My people's most ancient and terrible guardians. They have heard the great pause, and they reject it." Harrison felt the universe tilting beneath him as he realized the horrifying truth. The war wasn't ending. It was about to reach its bloodiest crescendo, and caught between the two approaching fleets were two sleeping children, who might be the only hope for peace either species would ever have. "How long do we have?" he asked. "Until the moons of Xerion rise over the third star," Thisphera replied. And somehow Harrison understood that meant 18 minutes. Then the war singers and your battle fleet meet, and the final song begins. The human baby opened her eyes, looking up at Harrison with the trust and innocence that only children possess. Beside her, Thisavara's galaxy-filled gaze held the weight of eons and the desperate hope of a dying harmony. "Then we'd better make those 18 minutes count," Harrison said grimly. But as he prepared to step back through the biofield, Thisavara's massive claw gently caught his shoulder. "Small guardian, there is something else. Something the great chorus has hidden, even from the young singers like myself, about why the first war song was truly sung. About what your people's expansion into the star streams has awakened in the deep dark between." "What do you mean?" The dragon's mental voice dropped to a whisper that somehow contained the terror of entire galaxies. "We did not come to your stars seeking conquest, small guardian. We came, flee, and in the distance, growing closer with each heartbeat, something that was neither human nor Nexari began to sing a song that had no harmony, no hope, no end. Only an endless hungry silence that devoured everything it touched. The real war was just beginning. The darkness between the stars screamed. Captain Harrison felt at the moment this Ivloa shared the truth. A presence so alien, so fundamentally wrong that human language had no words to contain it. Through the biofield he glimpsed creatures that existed in the spaces between dimensions, feeding on the life force of entire star systems, drawn by the expanding bubble of consciousness that marked both human and Nexari civilization. The Devourers. The silence that consumes. The reason the Nexari had abandoned their homeworlds and spread across the galaxy, not as conquerors but as refugees desperately seeking allies against an enemy that defied comprehension. "Captain?" Dr. Kim's voice cut through his telepathic communion. "Admiral Patterson's fleet is 3 minutes out and they're not responding to hails." Harrison forced himself back through the biofield, his consciousness reeling from the contact with cosmic horror. "Patterson's lost ships to the Nexari. He won't listen to reason." "Sir, there's more." Lieutenant Commander Toriaz's face was pale with shock. "Long-range sensors are detecting something else. Energy signatures, unlike anything we've seen. They're coming from outside the galaxy." Thesiver's massive head rose, her galaxy-filled eyes reflecting an ancient terror. The Eaters of Songs approach. My people's flight across the star streams has led them here, to your worlds, to your children. The human infant began to cry, not from hunger or discomfort, but as if she could sense the approaching darkness. Thesivera's immediate response was to wrap her tail protectively around the child while humming a subsonic lullaby that made reality itself seem more solid. She is strong, your little singer, the dragon observed. She feels the wrongness approaching, but she does not break. Your species, you are more resilient than we believed possible. Resilient enough to survive what's coming, perhaps, if our peoples can learn to sing together before the silence arrives. Harrison looked out at the approaching human fleet, 12 dreadnoughts bristling with enough firepower to crack a moon. Admiral Patterson had lost his son in the first Nexari encounter. He would see only monsters here, not desperate allies. Dr. Kim, Harrison ordered, prepare for emergency broadcast on all frequencies. If I'm going to commit mutiny, I might as well do it properly. Sir, I'm about to tell humanity that everything we thought we knew about this war was wrong. The communication array crackled to life as Harrison opened channels to both the approaching human fleet and the Nexari Veltari surrounding them. Through Thesivera's telepathic link, his words would reach every consciousness in both fleets simultaneously. This is Captain James Harrison, of the UES Defiance. Admiral Patterson, I know you're not going to want to hear this, but we've made a mistake. A catastrophic species-ending mistake. Patterson's response came immediately, his voice tight with rage and grief. Harrison, you're harboring enemy combatants. Stand down and prepare to be boarded, or I'll blast you out of space myself. Tom Harrison used the Admiral's first name, remembering when they'd served together as young officers. Look at your sensor readings. Really look at them. What you're seeing isn't an invasion fleet, it's a refugee convoy. Through the biolink, Harrison felt Thesivera translating for the Nexari, her young voice carrying to the massive elder singers whose ancient minds held the pain of 1,000 lost worlds. Great ones, who remember. She sang to them. The star swimmers speak truth words. They begin to hear the harmony, but the silence that consumes draws near. If we do not join our songs now, all melodies will end in emptiness. The response from the Nexari fleet was immediate. Massive bioships beginning to pulse with synchronized bioluminescence, their living hulls reshaping themselves from weapons forms to something that might have been welcoming. It was impossible to tell with alien architecture, but the harmonics filling space had shifted from threatening to pleading. What the hell? Patterson's voice carried shocked confusion as his sensors read the energy changes. Harrison, what did you do to them? I learned to listen, Tom. And if you don't do the same in the next 2 minutes, none of this will matter because something else is coming. Something that makes the Nexuri look like friendly neighbors. As if summoned by his words, the void at the edge of sensor range began to shift. Reality itself seemed to bend as 3 massive shadows emerged from dimensions that physics insisted didn't exist. The Devourers had arrived, creatures of pure entropy that existed only to consume the life force of conscious beings. The Eaters come. Thesivera's mental voice was filled with ancestral terror. My people have fled them across half the galaxy. They feed on the energy of living thought itself. The more complex the civilization, the more they hunger. Jesus Christ. Patterson breathed over the comm as his ship's sensors tried and failed to make sense of the approaching entities. What are those things? The real enemy, Harrison replied grimly. The reason the Nexari came to our space, not to conquer us, to save all of us. The human baby in Thesivera's arms had stopped crying, but her small hands glowed with a faint bioluminescence that matched the dragon's scales. Through the telepathic link, Harrison felt the child's developing consciousness, pure, uncomplicated, but somehow vast in its potential. She learns the deep songs quickly. Thesivera observed with wonder. In moments she has grasped harmonies. It takes our young centuries to master. Your species, you adapt faster than any we have encountered. Adaptation won't be enough against those things. No. But perhaps synthesis will. The dragon's massive head turned toward Harrison, and in her galaxy-filled eyes he saw a desperate plan forming. The great chorus knows a song, the song of last resort. It requires perfect harmony between different types of consciousness. We have tried it alone and failed. But with your people's quick learning and our deep memory, what does this song do? It transforms the singers, permanently, into something new, something that can exist in the spaces between dimensions, where the eaters dwell, something that can fight them on their own ground. Harrison felt the weight of the choice before him. And the cost? Those who sing it will never again be purely human or purely Nexari. They become something else, bridge builders between species, guardians of the harmony. The Devourers were close enough now that their presence could be felt as a pressure against reality itself. Plants on every human ship were beginning to wither. Electronic systems fluctuated as the very concept of ordered energy became unstable in their proximity. Admiral Patterson. Harrison opened the comm again. I'm transmitting coordinates for your fleet to dock with the Nexari Velturi. We need volunteers, humans and Nexari, working together. We're going to attempt something that's never been tried before. Are you insane, Harrison? Those are enemy ships. No, Tom. Those are our only allies. Because in about 10 minutes the real enemy is going to start feeding on every conscious mind in this star system, starting with Earth. The admission hung in space like a death sentence. Through the biolink, Harrison felt the Nexari elder singers sharing their racial memories, visions of worlds consumed, entire civilizations reduced to empty husks as the Devourers fed on their life force. But he also felt something else. From every human ship, from every Nexari Velthar, a growing understanding. A recognition that survival demanded something unprecedented. Unity. Dr. Kim, Harrison ordered. Prepare the biocontainment field for expansion. We're going to need room for a lot more than 2 babies. Through the ship's corridors, through the comm channels, through the telepathic networks of the Nexari fleet, word began to spread. The call for volunteers, the opportunity to become something new, to sing the song of last resort. Admiral Patterson's voice, when it came, was thick with emotion. Harrison, my son died fighting those creatures 3 months ago. If there's a chance, any chance to make his death mean something, then suit up, Tom, and bring anyone crazy enough to trust us. The transformation began with volunteers from both fleets. Humans in EVA suits docking with living Nexari ships, their minds opening to telepathic contact for the first time. The process was painful, overwhelming, but necessary. Each successful link created a stronger harmony, a deeper understanding between the species. In the cargo bay of the Defiance, the human infant and Thussaver became the focal point of the growing song. 2 children who had bonded across species lines, who represented the potential for harmony that both races had nearly destroyed in their fear and misunderstanding. Now Thesphera sang as the Devourers reached the outer edge of the star system. While there is still time, the song of last resort begins. What followed was music that transcended sound, harmony that existed in dimensions human science had never imagined. Voices of both species blending, creating something that was neither fully human nor Nexari but something entirely new. And as they sang, as their consciousnesses merged and transformed, the volunteers became something the Devourers had never encountered before. Guardians of the space between spaces. Protectors of the harmony that bound life to reality itself. The battle that followed was fought not with weapons but with songs. Not in physical space, but in the conceptual realm where thought and reality intersected. The transformed volunteers, human and Nexari consciousness fused into something greater, met the Devourers in their own dimensional hunting grounds. It was a war of music against silence. Order against entropy. The fundamental forces of creation against the hunger of the void. When it ended, when the last Devourer had been driven back into the spaces between universes, those who had sung the song of last resort found themselves changed forever. No longer fully human or Nexari, but something new, something that could serve as bridges between species, guardians against the dark. In the cargo bay of the Defiance, Captain Harrison held the human infant while Thusphera curled protectively around them both. The child was sleeping peacefully, unaware that she had just become the symbol of a new age, an age where humanity and the Nexari would explore the galaxy together, their differences becoming strength, their harmony protecting both species from threats they could never face alone. "What happens now?" Kim asked, her voice filled with wonder as she watched human and Nexari crew members working side by side throughout the ship. Harrison looked out at the combined fleet, human dreadnoughts flying in formation with living Nexari Veltari, their crews learning each other's languages, their children growing up together. "Now," he said, gently stroking the sleeping infant's hair as Thisfera hummed a lullaby that incorporated melodies from both Earth and the far reaches of Nexari space. "We learned to sing." In the darkness between the stars, something that had once been three separate species now stood guard against the silence, and in a cargo bay where fear had once reigned supreme, two children slept in perfect harmony, proving that sometimes the greatest strength comes not from standing apart but from learning to trust in each other's songs. The universe had become a little less dark, a little more musical, and in the lullabies sung to sleeping children of two worlds, the future began to take shape. One note, one harmony, one perfect song at a time.